That got me emotional. Sing out and give me back my name. Anybody needed somebody to sing the reminder of who they were back to them? It's what happens when you put a meaningful story at the beginning. It just messes you up. And then you sing a song like that, and I'm like, God. I'm going to start by telling you about somebody who sings my name back to me regularly. And I just told him I was doing this 2 seconds ago, so that's not really fair. I'm going to tell you about my friend Brendan. Billy, no more picking meaningful songs, all right? We're done with that. We've been friends for over 20 years. The kind of friend who knows everything. The kind of friend who's seen everything. And the kind of friend who knows what to burn in case I die. I met Brendan at 20 years old. He was an 8th grader. I was his youth pastor. And everything was a possibility. Jobs, relationships, dreams. As he was growing up, I was growing up right beside him. We stood in each other's weddings. We celebrated the births of our children. We've walked together through job changes. We've moved across country together at least 3 times. Through mental health struggles, his and mine. Through seasons when life felt too heavy to carry alone. Brendan has always been there. If you know him, you know he's definitely not the loudest person in the room. He doesn't need to be noticed. But when I look back at the biggest moments of my life, the mountaintops and the deepest of valleys, he's been there. Not perfect or polished, but steady. The kind of friend you call in the middle of the night. The one who will drive to you with gas cans when you run out of gas. The friend who will drive hours just to sit with you. And the kind who doesn't flinch when life gets messy, but just keeps showing up. This is what faithfulness looks like. Paul says the fruit of the Spirit is love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. Faithfulness isn't flashy or trending. It's not a thing that gets applause usually, but it is the thing that holds everything else together. It's that foundational piece that all the rest of the fruit of the Spirit just kind of sit on. Faithfulness is covenantal. It's trust. It's reliability. It's showing up. It's not just about consistency of habit. It's about relationship. At its core, faithfulness rests in this language of promises kept and of love sustained through time, of covenant. There is this very weird story in Genesis chapter 15. It's before Abraham becomes Abraham. At this time, he's just Abram, and God has called him to follow him to a place he's not telling Abram, which if you think God's always going to tell you where you're going. There's a lot of scriptures that remind us that oftentimes we're walking where we don't know. And so Abraham's walking where he doesn't know, and God makes this covenant to him. He says, Abraham, I'm going to make your descendants as numerous as the stars and the sky and the sand on the seashore. And Abram says, prove it. Because I've been following you for a minute. I need proof. And there was this weird tradition in the time of Abraham where if you were making a covenant with somebody, you would go get a big animal and you would cut it in half and it would bleed out in the aisleway. And then the two people making the covenant would walk through the blood together. And the idea was that this promise is so important that I'll stake my life on it. I'll put my footprints in the blood. So when Abraham asked God to make a covenant, God says, Abraham, I want you to go get three-year-old large animals, a heifer and a ram and one other one that I forget. And I also want you to get a few birds. And so Abraham goes and he cuts them in half, and you can imagine the mess. And then God puts Abraham to sleep. And he says, when Abraham awakes, what he sees is two sets of footprints walking through the blood. God's and God's. Knowing that this promise was not something that Abraham could do, that it was a covenant that only God could make with God's self. Timothy tells us that, or Paul tells us in the book of Timothy, that even when we are unfaithful, God is faithful because he cannot go against his own character. At the core of faithfulness is covenant relationship. From the beginning of time, God has bound God's self to creation through covenant. To Noah, God hung a rainbow in the sky, a promise to never give up on the world. To Abraham and Sarah, God promised descendants as numerous as stars and kept that promise even when they doubted. To Moses and Israel, God promised to be their God even when they were wondering and forgot. And when those covenants were broken by human unfaithfulness, God made a new one, written not on tablets of stone, but sealed in the blood of Christ. God's faithfulness is covenantal love that endures beyond betrayal and still chooses relationship. It's in the cross, the place where God says, again, I'm not going to let you go no matter what you throw at me. It's in the resurrection that proof that even death cannot make God break a covenant. So when Paul names faithfulness as the fruit of the Spirit, he's saying that the Spirit forms within us that same sort of covenant reliability, that same sort of desire to root in relationship with God and with each other in a way that is unbreakable. Faithfulness isn't glamorous, but it's how love lasts. It's the glue that holds everything else together. As you read in Lamentations, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. This is written as he stands in rubble. Not when everything was going great. He's standing in the rubble of his city. And he's saying, God, great is your faithfulness, and your mercies come new every morning, even in the mess. God's faithfulness is the ground beneath us. Steady when everything else shifts. Mercy that meets us with the sunrise, and love that doesn't quit. If you need another example, think of Jesus. Day after day, town after town, with this ragtag group of friends that we call the disciples, Jesus walks with them, he teaches them, he eats with them, he listens to their stupid questions. He listens as they argue about which one's a better friend to him. He hears their misunderstandings, and yet he keeps showing up. Not just in miracles, but in the ordinary, everyday rhythms of life. He breaks bread with them. He blesses children. He notices the people around them that are overlooked. He celebrates at weddings. He restores dignity at tables. He's faithful, steady. The long obedience of love in real time. His faithfulness isn't about perfection. It's about trust. It's about reliability. It's about showing up. Being there with what we have in the moment. And just believing that that's going to be enough. Faithfulness is covenant love lived out. And the Spirit produces in us this capacity to keep showing up. Even when it costs us. Even when it's not noticed. Even when it's really hard. Faithfulness resists the culture of quitting. The temptation to walk away as things get messy. It resists that voice in our head that says, is it worth it? And instead it says, I'll be here. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to keep showing up. And church, we need this. Because we live in a world of short attention spans and quick exits and temporary commitments. We swipe right or left, we ghost, we move on. Faithfulness is rare, but it's exactly what the Spirit is growing in and through us. Faithfulness in friendships, faithfulness in relationships, faithfulness in community, faithfulness in justice, faithfulness in following Christ. So how do we live this fruit? We show up. Even when it's inconvenient. Keep your word even when it costs you something. When other people walk away. Be steady in prayer. Be even steadier in presence. Because faithfulness isn't about being perfect and having all the right words and doing all the right things. It's about being there. I can't tell you how many times when the church gets to enter into the chaos of people's life, you think we are magic. We are not. We just show up. You just show up with the casserole, with the kind word, with the capacity just to sit and not walk away. Rooted, reliable, true. So I think of Brendan. 26 years of showing up. This is what faithfulness looks like. And it's what God looks like. Imagine a community like that. A church that shows up, who stay, who love steady over time in the midst of people's messy middles and chaos. Because most of our life, church, is a messy middle. Most of it is lived in the imperfectness of our journey. It's broken and messy. A church who embodies this covenant, trust, and relationship in a world that quickly exits is a radical construct. In a world full of noise, faithfulness becomes the quiet strength with which our world finds its footing to survive. That when we forget our name, we sing it back to each other. That we are children of God. That, yeah, we may have forgotten that identity, but it doesn't make it less true. So we sing quietly and steadfastly for each other. The Spirit is faithful. And when we're rooted in that faithfulness, our faithfulness grows true. Please pray with me. God, some of us are in this place and we've forgotten our name. May you sing it over us. Some of us are sitting in some of the biggest darkness we've carried in a really long time. May you place people around us who rest in that faithful seat. God, help us to be a church who shows up